Karma always keeps everything in check, and that doesn't mean that, karma's going to get you because you did something. But no, your soul needs to learn, and that's what we're here to do in this planet.
Right. Trust in the journey. Let your spirit soar. With augmented teachings, we'll open the door.
Hello, and welcome to Augmented Teachings. My name is Brandy, and I'm here with my co-host and founder, Todd Michael Jackson. And we're also here with our guest and friend, Robert from House of Frog. So how are you guys doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm excited about the show. So what is this show about?
Well, the topic of today's show is about the experiences we have and how they create our divine currency. We will also be talking about why it matters to be mindful in our shared experiences, and also about the repercussions of our mindset. So we know we live in a cause and effect universe, and there's always an effect to every cause. So with that being said, let's dive in. How are you doing today, Robert?
Doing great.
Good. Well, it's really been a pleasure to have you join us on our show and join this Augmented Teachings journey. And Todd, take it away. So let's talk about experiences.
I'm looking at the topics here, and the first one is experiences we have, our divine currency. The experiences we have here can be relived on the other side of the veil, at home, in heaven. And that is our currency that we get to relive. So a person that had an abundance of experiences that were unique and beautiful and fun and loving and joyous will have more to go back to when they're in heaven to enjoy, right? It's like that book that just keeps giving. That lifetime just keeps giving. And you get to enjoy the fruits of your labor coming here in the first place. And it's really important to realize how we affect ourselves in producing these experiences, because if you live in a mindset of fear and judgment or depression, it's so important to break yourself of that, because every experience is lessened by that mindset. The mindset can help create that experience to be more abundant, more pleasurable, and could also deteriorate it at the same time, depending on where your mindset is at.
Well, and the feeling and vibration of joy is really your indicator of what type of experience you're having. How much joy are you experiencing in that moment? And so often, we talk about being mindful in that experience. What does that mean? That means being grounded and actually paying attention to your emotions, looking at your shadow self, looking at your triggers and your filters, and also realizing that we're one. And so the experience that I'm creating or having with other people, that's going to create my karmic cycles and the way that I relive my experiences on the other side of the veil, right?
Right. So one of the shows we had, I think, a long time ago was, Is There Beer in Heaven?
Oh, yeah.
And the answer is yes, you're bringing that experience of beer in heaven. So the experience of intoxication, the experience of laughter because you loosened up, all those things, sometimes alcohol works the opposite way, but if it works for you and it creates a joyous situation with friends and camaraderie and all that stuff, that experience you're bringing back home. The best pizza in the world, the best pizza you've ever eaten, you get to relive as many times as you want. So I always tell people, eat it mindfully. Exactly. Don't be on your phone. Don't be doing this. Don't be doing that. If you've got an amazing pizza in front of you, you that first piece, you just enjoy that and you mindfully eat that because you're bringing that back home in all its sensations. And if you're concentrating on the sensations, the heat, the texture, the flavors.
Exactly, 100%.
When you're really involved with that, you get to relive that.
Well, because you're creating this imprint through your senses, right? And we talk about like the Akashic field or the Akashic records. And the Akashic records is, you can think of like an energetic hall of records where everything we experience on this side of the veil is kind of recorded and stored right there. So if we're eating a strawberry and we're smelling it, Oh, and we're feeling that pleasure and that joy and that gratitude. Now we're imprinting that into the blueprint of the tapestry of our soul. And then we're tasting it and we're feeling how juicy it is and it's sweet. And the more that we are creating that joy and gratitude in that moment, now we're creating that energy to be imprinted.
Right.
And now we're going to share that. Because in the collective field, in the Akashic records, there is really no separation. So if you're eating a strawberry and you're like, oh man, and you're mad and you're angry and you're having this, not pleasurable experience, there's no joy in that. Now what are we creating? Now we're imprinting that anger, that whatever. So when we relive that, we're going to feel those opposite vibrations of joy.
Right.
So that's why we do it mindfully.
Right.
I love that, and it's just about being grateful in that, being in the present moment and being an attitude of gratitude.
Exactly.
Right? Because there's a story I read to my students all the time called Touching Spirit Bear. And this kid, he has to do everything himself, right? He has to prove his word and get his trust back. And they tell him to make dinner. And he doesn't want to. He's resistant. And finally, he just gets hot dogs, throws it in a bun. He goes, here's dinner. And he wolfed it down. And they said, did it serve its purpose? And he said, yeah, I ate dinner. Great. He goes, well, that's because that's all you wanted it to do, right? You just wanted to eat so your belly is full, right? He's also, the guy took out another hot dog and he cut into 3 pieces. And as he was cutting the onions and the tomato, he was singing or whistling a song, and he put a little bit and then the cheese. And then every time they did a bite, he had a little cups and they would toast and say, I'm thankful for my friend right here, and that sort of thing. But it's, and so that's really like when you say blessings for food, that's really what it is being grateful for that moment with the friends in there, that attitude of gratitude, and then duplicate that in the rest of your affairs, right?
Well, and when we do that blessing, that's creating that intent. We're creating that energetic, blueprint by our words, by our actions, by taking that moment to pause before we eat and really ground ourselves. Who are we with? Exactly. We're having a great time. Right. And now we get to share that with everybody else, on this side and the other. Right.
And I want to jump to the next section, because mindful and shared experiences, because when you're mindful and shared experiences, not only do I get to experience, say we have the greatest pizza and all 3 of us are eating it, right? And we're telling jokes and eating and enjoying it, and just like, we get to go in each other's experiences too. That is our currency. We can share our experiences. So when I have a whole bunch of experiences, we can share, and I can see it from your point of view too, and your point of view also. And having that shared experience is so important. I mean, one of the experiences that is most cherished is usually wedding nights are usually the most cherished, because that's the experience that you're sharing with somebody that's at a deeper level.
That connection.
Right. And you can see it you can feel it through both sides.
Because you're usually more mindful.
You're more mindful, right? You're in that moment. In that moment. So when you're creating an experience such as that, it can be shared with both parties, so we can feel what the other person is feeling.
And also, thinking about the opposite of that too, because when we're having an experience with somebody, and like you have spoken about before in another episode, if we're thinking like somebody on, even on the freeway or something, but if we're really, hanging out with them and together, and we're thinking negative things, or we're feeling a lower vibration or negative vibration, we have like this intent with the person, that's creating that disharmony and dis-ease within our own being, but it's also creating that imprint of disharmony for our soul. And then on the other side of the veil, where there is no separation, now those other people, all that negative energy is now in their field. And so that's why we want to be mindful to remember that we are all one. And really the purpose of mindfulness is to not judge the moment as good or bad, or the person as good or bad. Right. It's just recognizing that, hey, this is what is being presented to me. This is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm experiencing. But rather than not saying that it's good or bad, just being mindful. Because then if the minute we think, oh, this person's bad or this experience is bad, now what are we doing? Now we're creating that energetic imprint and we're creating that for other people by having that mindset of judgment and duality. So.
Yeah. And I noticed that too when I was doing rideshare for a while. I would get people in my car. I'm usually a naturally funny person, making just observational jokes, right?
Yeah.
And
funny guy.
right, just to loosen them up. And they'll get in the car and they'll start laughing, da 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 da. But then sometimes I get people in and they just got hopped up on some right wing media and they're coming in and complaining about this group of people and that group of people. And you're
in a car with them.
I'm stuck in a car. Sometimes by the time I get out of the car, I'm shaking because their anger has just changed that whole experience. That shared experience is gone. It's destroyed because of what they ingested with their eyes and their ears. The mindset was wrong, and that what could have been a fun ride with a driver that has a good time with
maybe laughing and having a good time.
Right? No, it wasn't. That could never come because they had already put their mindset somewhere else. So no matter throughout their day, they weren't going to have a good time because their mindset was already in the wrong place.
Because their base level was already in judgment.
Right.
And if
they've made that decision.
Right. And that's why I was saying, earlier that we always have a choice in everything we say, think, and do. And that's why when we are mindful and remember that, it's like, oh, I'm co-creating this experience here. Right. I can respond. I can react. I can create. What am I going to create? But that's all part of waking up to our true divine nature, that we are conscious, creative beings.
Right. Right. It's very important that we take that into consideration. When I'm creating a situation for you, for myself, and you at the same time, we have to be responsible for both people in that situation.
And that's really what it means to hold space with people.
Right.
Is to remember that how I act towards you or you or you or you is going to, in some way, shape, or form, either create an effect for me, create an experience for my karmic cycle. And then also, I'm going to feel how you felt. So if I say something nasty or rude to you, or I pick on you or whatever, when we return to the other side of the veil and when we are no longer, separated by these vessels, I'm going to feel that hurt and pain that you may have felt. And so that's why I do my best to be mindful on how I respond. Am I going to respond in kindness and compassion and remember, oh, this is not what I'm doing to myself, or I'm sorry, what I'm doing to another person, I'm ultimately doing to myself and to source, which is God.
Right.
You just have to find ways to temper those types of things and heal yourself from that. Even like just in gender, men who use size, physique, voice, their mass, right, against other men, or
to kind of dominate,
or women to control, to dominate, right? But that's all fear. Anger is just a derivative of fear, right? There's only love and fear.
Right.
And so everything in fear, it comes out as anger because they think they're losing control, or they think they're going to maybe not lose control of the situation, whatever it happens to be. It's coming out in those ways. And in that experience, they say, what was that, sticks and stones and words, right? But the truth is the words, they create worlds of trauma for people.
Right.
Think of a parent to a child that's screaming at them, and that's rooted in them. Right. Now they think they're not good at something, or they'll never succeed, or, oh, I am dumb, right? Because of things parents say. Right. So definitely those shared experiences, we're packing them up to take with us.
Right. And an older soul will look for better ways to communicate, especially if they communicate and the person's crying, okay, how can I do this better next time? And being a father made me want to communicate better.
Same thing.
Because I did not want to have my son crying because I didn't know how to communicate in a positive way. Right. And I got books and I read them, a book called Self-Esteem, that's all. And it was like on the 4th edition or something like now, but it's a great book. And it gives you the basics of communicating in a positive way. and so that you don't destroy the self-esteem of your children or yourself anymore.
Right.
And like I said, it's so important that we do that because eventually every experience goes to source. When I treat you bad or Nick or anybody else in the audience here bad, then I'm treating God bad. And we don't want to do that. So there's one more section. It's important. It's the one that people really have to pay attention to, and that is the repercussions of our mindset.
Ah, yes.
The repercussions of our mindset.
The consequences. Because again, we live in a cause and effect universe, and karma always keeps everything in check. And that doesn't mean that, karma's going to get you because you did something. But no, your soul needs to learn, and that's what we're here to do in this planet.
Right.
Right?
So as you lash out at somebody, right, there is a karmic yin and yang that keeps everything in balance so that you learn, right? It's not done to you. It's done for you.
And through you.
So,
by you and for you.
So there was this one video floating around where a guy was arrested. He was on his belly with his arms behind him, right? Handcuffed.
Okay, so he was already down.
Came up to him and had the attack dog. He was already on the ground, already handcuffed. And he let the dog go on him just to let that happen. The dog stopped, turned around, and attacked the officer.
Yeah.
Right? So, in that situation, why did not the dog do that? That man did not have that karmic coming to him. But the officer did.
Right.
The officer did have that coming to him. And something in the dog changed. Now, if the man did have it coming, and say the dog did attack, right?
The guy on the ground.
The cop would say, well, we had it coming. So I'm clear, right? No. His karma was just served. Yours just began.
Exactly.
Yours just began.
Because what was his intention? His intention,
His intention was to hurt another person that was subdued. So expect to be attacked by an animal while you are being held in a situation that you cannot move from. It may not happen in this incarnation, but it will come out again sometime in the future because you're going to be here hundreds of times.
And also not even in a different life cycle, but in your current, right? You're going to get that energy back as well. Right. I think it's a lot like radio stations, right? It's just the frequency that everybody's on. And when you have that lower vibration, that lower frequency where you want to hurt and harm people, even if on the outside you're Mr., clean, whatever, right? Everyone knows intentions. And because you're on that frequency, the law of attraction is the same people that think the way you do, right, are also on that frequency, and so you will be engaging in that. Why do I have problems? Why do I have this? Why that? Because that's the station you've tuned into.
Right. That's that mindset.
So you need to change the station.
Exactly. Change your frequency, and that's why we do that inner work, right? That's why we do that shadow work. That's why you read those books. That's why you've done your work. That's why we all continue to do our work with the tools and practices that we have.
Right. And sometimes people, especially in this capitalistic society, they think that, well, my job as a business owner is to maximize profits, and that's my goal. And that is one of your goals, yes, absolutely. But if you don't take care of the people also, if you just work people to death and not pay them a fair wage where they can even make a good living, and you're exploiting them, knowing you could full well pay them more and take better care of them, have better safety for them, have stock dividends paid, stock option, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You did not help them. You just exploited them. Expect to be exploited in the future. You may find yourself, because sometimes we set up our lives to be on rails for a while. So we learn the lesson. He might be born in, that person might be born in China. And the only option they have in their town is to work for that sweatshop or that sweatshop. Which one do you want? And they're going to be exploited because they exploited, and they had to learn through firsthand knowledge of the struggle that they had dismissed.
They might be born in America and exploited in a field somewhere, or
exactly,
factory,
right.
Well, and that's why we talk about how we treat people determines how we will be treated
Right.
in this lifetime or the next,
Right.
you know, and karma interacts differently in this new paradigm that we're in.
Right.
So I believe that that's why that dog turned around and was like,
Right.
boom, I'm going to attack that person
Right.
because it attracted to that vibration because the man put that energy of, you know, nastiness and all of that into that dog. And then and he was going to go.
I
But
saw
then
that reel.
the law was like, nope. And so
Yeah.
the dog attracted to that guy
Yeah.
because of the energy and the intent and
Exactly.
vibration. The dog was just a pawn in that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it was taught and trained and under the control and command of that man.
Right.
So it's just really interesting when you kind of take a look and it's like, yeah,
Right.
karma got you right there.
And karma's much more what's the word? Much more interactive now. So before, like, I don't know, you look at the robber barons back in the 1920s and 30s, whatever, and they may not have had to pay their karmic debt till the next lifetime. But now it's happening much faster. And you look, and I was like, I'll want to say it like it is. As soon as Elon started allowing hate speech and greenlighting it, things have been going downhill ever since. He got a little rise here, but then it just keeps going down. Now his rockets are exploding, and Tesla just got in trouble for making the mileage go up faster than it should, so they don't have to pay the warranties, and they have to replace all the computers. And I'm like, man, you are just getting hit. As soon as he stops hate speech, says, you know what, hate speech is over, boom, that karma will start pulling off.
Right.
But he won't do it because of his ego. He's going to be right to the
'cause
day
he's a
he
young
dies.
soul.
Right.
Exactly.
I'm glad you're saying about changing your ways. So say someone who is, they owe a debt, their actions, their intentions, they've been harmful, but they've changed the way they act now, and they're increased their vibration, and they're doing truly good intention and good things. On the other side of the veil, when they get there, do they still owe a karmic debt?
And I'm glad you said that, because what happens is it depends on how you can't change in the last 2 weeks of your life, right?
Right.
It's not enough. It's not enough time. Right.
Extra credit.
So what axe murderers go to death row. They're like, okay, I'm going to be good now.
I learned my lesson.
I'm good,
I learned my lesson.
No, it doesn't work that. Depends. If you had a longer cycle and the amount of good karma that you put out, that in that section where you did make the transition would be determinant of that. Now, there is a situation to where sometimes people do so much good, have so much good karma. When they do come back, they can kind of get away with a little bit here and there and not have any repercussions because their karmic debt is, so negative. You know what I'm saying? They don't have any karmic debt. They're owed.
I like that.
So it is. And so that's why we talk about, whatever we do now is creating that karmic cycle for us, whether it's next week or it's in 5 lifetimes. Eventually your soul will reap the benefits and the rewards and get to experience the fruit of all of your labor throughout your soul's journey.
Right.
Well, I hope when we're all watching the highlight reel of mine, that we're laughing like, oh, look at what his dumbass used to do, and then going, oh, but then look at here.
Exactly.
Look at when House of Frog started.
Exactly. And you know
look
what?
your 30-year-old self, you're an idiot.
Right.
And you get to create that for yourself right here, right now. That's what you're doing.
And Cinema's making popcorn.
Sweet.
Yep.
Yeah, that's going to be something I'm going to eat that mindfully.
Yes.
Today, because Cinnamon brought popcorn. I can't wait. Looks delicious.
Well, and like you were talking about, the hot dog, and putting all the onions and the cheese and taking that time to really add those little layers in there, right? Sure, you can just eat a hot dog and shove it in your face. I was talking to Todd about my best friend the other day, and I was saying that if she gets like some candy or something, she'll just shove it all in her mouth and she'll eat it within like two bites. And she's like, oh man, that was good. I want more. And I'm like, but you were waiting so long to have that one special like treat, and then you didn't even get to enjoy it, and you want more, but now there's no more. Like you literally it's gone now, And for me, I'm like, I want to savor that, and I've always been that way. And I thought there was something wrong with me when I was a little girl, because I used to take so long to finish a candy bar, like days, not just literally 4 chews, 4 bites.
Right.
And but again, just being mindful is that part of that gratitude, you know, staying in that vibration of gratitude and thankfulness. And that creates more of that because again, that law of attraction.
Yeah, 100% agree. I noticed myself I've had to break from that. You know, sometimes I eat it real fast, especially being a truck driver, you know, for so many years.
We're conditioned. Yeah.
But then after a while, I've stopped doing that. Now I eat my Reese's Pieces 1 or 2 at a time. You know what I'm saying? And then let them melt in my mouth and have that experience longer. So I have more to work with when I get back home.
Think about when you're on like a date, you know, you're eating more mindfully because you're talking to the person, you're there, you're present,
Right.
you know, and then after you've been together for a while, are you still talking to them or are you on your phone and just eating really quick and then you're off to the next chore or the next task, you know?
Right.
Well, you can always add into that too to make sure the food is included in your thought, though, right? Because really, you can be telling that water to serve me and repurpose me, right?
Right, and those are those higher levels.
Those higher levels. You could be directing that food and those proteins and those vitamins to, you know, I need some kidney work, right? But
Exactly.
that's through training and some depth to it, but you know, you celebrate the food so that it serves you because that's its purpose.
Right.
Right.
Right. And when you I kind of think of it as like, you know, you create your life to be a ceremony and you create, you know, when you're cooking, that's a ritual. That's a ceremony. I mean, you know, our beautiful audience member in here, when she cooks, you can feel her love in there. You can feel the ingredients that she puts in there, even if it's just salt and butter, you know what I mean? Or whatever. It's like you can taste those. And we have a reverend friend who gave us a story about raisins. And if you could share just a little bit about that, how we always talk about, or you always talk about how I add raisins in my food.
Right.
It's not literal raisins. So can you break that down just a little bit?
Right. So the story was that the kid was getting cookies from the grandmother, right? And the grandmother had put raisins in that as extra love. He said, extra love. And then it goes, but grandma, it's just raisins, right? Whenever you make food, you put so many, even if just eggs, right? But you put so many spices and flavors and different textures in there. And I'm like, there's a lot of raisins in here.
And so we say like that it's a lot of love in there, you know?
Right.
I love it.
and I love to create. It's like what we create with our food. I know that as I'm cutting the carrots and I'm cutting this or that, you know, I'm putting that love and intention in there. And if I'm listening to music and my vibration is high and I'm just dancing around the kitchen and I know that my family and friends or my community, whoever I'm preparing for, is going to eat this love. They're going to eat this energy and vibration and it's going to feel their body. Or am I going to be, I don't like these people and I'm cutting things, I'm throwing it in the pan and this and that. And I have this negative vibration. Ooh, that gives me chills because I don't like that, you know? Right. And then now my friends and my loved ones are going to eat this nasty vibration and feel that in their body.
Right.
Same thing. If we're drinking water and we're putting that love and that energy into there and we drink it, we're drinking that energy. You know?
Absolutely.
So it's really important to be mindful. And when we cheers to something, that's a ritual. So we say, hey, cheers to blah, blah, blah. And then we drink. We're literally putting that energy in there. So if somebody says, hey, cheers to something negative, and we drink it, we're literally drinking that energy.
Right.
So that's why it's so important to be mindful in everything that we say, think, and do to the best of our ability. Are we humans having, you know,
Yes.
are we spiritual beings having this human experience? Yes. So anything else we want to share on this topic on, you know, divine currency and our experience creating that or?
To get back to what Robert was saying,
Yeah.
like I said, I've said on the show a couple times. I'll probably say a few more by the time I'm dead. But there will be moments where you show, because our experiences aren't just for us to enjoy and to share with each other, right? They're also shown in classroom settings where we show where you did X, Y, and Z, and A, B, and C happened. You did these things that were wrong, but you learned over time to do them correctly. And then other people in the classroom will be watching how you did it and how you arranged the chapters in your life in a certain way to make that play out the way you wanted it to, how you played your solitaire hand, basically. So That is one of the crazy things is that we have classrooms and we have teachers, and we don't just learn here, we learn on this other side of the veil. But in this new paradigm, many of those teachers aren't just teaching, they actually chose to incarnate here. Mm-hmm. So we have a lot of people that are here teaching on a different level that was not thought of before in the old paradigm. Which is why things are changing. And we have a lot of old souls and young bodies.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I knew you were going to say that. Right. That is so true. And there's been such an influx in the age of soul and the type of consciousness. I mean, look at how, the children now, a lot of them are just so advanced and they know how to do so many things that we didn't know how to do. But they're very kind and compassionate in ways that humans really didn't showcase at younger ages like that.
Right.
Not to say that all children are like that right now. We have a lot going on in the human society, and we'll just leave that for another time. But there are a lot of children who are, showing signs of, autism and different things. And I believe that they are here to teach that love and compassion.
They're all teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Right.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
They are.
All light workers.
And
right. The indigo children, the crystal children, the rainbow children, we're all of us, we're all certain degrees on the rainbow spectrum of soul, right?
Right. So to get back to that right there is talking about autistic children. Mm-hmm. Autistic children are not mistakes. Mm-hmm. They are here to teach us how to speak to each other properly. Exactly. If you cannot get away. My mom used to beat me with a belt and scream in my face. You cannot do that to an autistic child. You have to learn better ways of communication.
Exactly.
That person, that adult, that parent that is learning better communication will spread that communication to others indirectly. Mm-hmm. So one child here will spread it to hundreds of people that are already here. Just because of their inability to handle that kind of pressure will cause people to pull back. New paradigm, hopefully. New ways of talking to each other. It's not a mistake. They're here for that purpose. So I love today's topic. It was fun.
It was.
I enjoyed it a lot. And thank you. I honor both of you.
Thank you.
For being here and being part of this. And I can't wait till next week, and we get to do it all over again.
Well, thank you for co-creating, or actually creating this Augmented Teachings. You are the creator of this.
Thank you.
And I still, remember when I first joined a couple years ago and how we have gotten from there to here. And it's so exciting to see where we're going and sharing this journey. But before we close out, do you have any final thoughts that you would like to share?
No, it was a great topic. I always look forward to it. Very grateful for the invitations, as always, for Cinnamon and I. And ready to rock and roll for next week.
All right. So may you always have love and laughter in your heart and keep moving forward. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.